folks. Welcome back. I am actually going to do a little react here to Theo Vaughn interviewing Scott Stapp of Creed. Creed gets crapped on a lot. They're a meme, but you got to recognize, man, at that time in history, they put out a lot of prolific tunes, and they sold a lot, and they packed a lot of venues. Yeah, Stapp has resurfaced over the past couple of years, and well, here he is in his own words, and I think he's going to be filling in some dots here, maybe connecting them. Let's just hear what he has to say. Sound catch up here.
Environment, like, what was it like? Like, was one of your parents a pastor or something? Like, how deep into the church were you personally?
It was very, very deep. You know, church was our life. It was Wednesday night, Friday night youth group, twice on Sundays. You know, and I had an abusive upbringing. You know, those that have followed me over the years know about it. And I think the worst part of it was being abused in the name of God. But
like, what is it like? So, like, somebody reprimanding you,
beating.
Oh, wow,
ritually.
That's
wow.
pretty specific.
I remember getting beat every Monday night for every.
I've heard a lot of people over the years tell their story or their hang-ups with religion or the church, and they allude to abuse, and not discounting it, but they weren't as upfront about it. He is coming from a place right here that I can tell already. He's got a lot of closure with whatever it was, with whoever it was. And he's speaking freely on it with a lot of perspective. And so he's able to just put his finger on it, like, immediately. Like, physical abuse, beatings. Whereas a lot of people that haven't gone through those steps, they can't even verbalize it. This probably happens a lot more often than we want to admit in the church. But at the same time, the other side of that coin, I really want to say it's not as common as the world would have you believe. And that's not taking away from anybody that has gone through. Everybody's at the center of their own world, right? And perspective being reality. To them, it's like that's their relationship with the church, with religion, and buzzword after buzzword. That was their experience, and that's unfortunate, to put it lightly. Anyways, I went to church twice on Sundays. I went to church on Wednesdays. I went to church not necessarily on Fridays, but like on Mondays and Tuesdays. Like, we had Young Life, then we had what do we call it? The Crusaders. He was affiliated with Young Life. So it was like multiple nights throughout the week, every week. I wasn't beat. Fortunate, blessed. I highly doubt any of my friends were either. But that's not to take away anything that he's saying. Sorry, I'm streaming this, so you have to deal with the buffering.
Everything that I didn't get caught doing, or that I thought that no one saw, or that went on in my mind. And then, you know, relatively quickly, about an hour afterwards, after the beating, hey, you want to come watch some football? It was just weird, man.
Oh,
it was weird.
And
sounds like a cycle of overreaction. And then this pendulum swings back, and it goes from overreaction to overcompensation. I'm not a counselor. I'm just observant.
Weirdness that creates in a young man too, of like, you know,
it's a form of brainwashing.
When like it's okay to be close to somebody, how you can go from abuse to immediately like everything being okay. That's all that stuff is so jarring.
It was very, looking back, it was very traumatizing. It was you know, one thing good out of it is I was made to write the Bible for punishment, and I would write the Bible and then have to write commentaries on what each chapter meant to me. And so looking back, that trained me to be a writer, a lyricist. It trained me to learn how to put my thoughts on paper in a poetic and unique way. And all that knowledge, although I didn't live it for a long period in my life and still don't always, it came out in my lyrics, which went on to really connect with people.
Yeah.
And so, I look at it again. It is what it is, and I wouldn't change a thing, because it's all a part of the building blocks, whether it was good or bad, that created the life that I've lived so far.
Was there something that kind of helped you get to?
People tend to refer back to like all the abuses of the church and going back hundreds of years, far beyond what any modern man or child could be held accountable for, honestly. But it just was, right? Up until Gutenberg, all the Bibles were handwritten. And in that same era of the church, it's widely believed, or just put out there, of how violent and how abusive that the Vatican was, or the Orthodox Church was. It was a different era. It just was. But through that message was not lost. Counter to what the world would have you believe, the signal to noise ratio, like, dude, the Bible we have today, and there's a ton of different translations and whatnot, but if you zoom back and you just take it as a whole and you back off the focus a touch, the Bible we have now is the Bible that was written back then. And those individual letters and books that were written originally on hides and on papyrus have been confirmed to be true through the Dead Sea Scrolls. Like, those that have studied them and compared them to other works, and those are the earliest known works that what we have now is as close as possible. And yeah, people have their pet versions of the Bible, but if it's taken from the Aramaic, like, it's there. Every jot and tittle. Like, the truth is there, and it transcends. And that seems like a rabbit trail, but what he's talking about here, it's just interesting to me that whenever he talks about like where he's at now, it was a horrible situation. He was forced to do this, forced to handwrite and provide his own commentary. He was forced to do it. If you refer back to any time the Israelites were forced into captivity because they had strayed from God, and it was always the price they had to pay, that the lesson on the back end was so much greater, that God used that persecution to refine them. It's just an interesting way he phrased that. That's what jumps to mind. Once again, sorry for the buffering, man.
Some of that conclusion, because I still have, like, I'm sure you probably had resentments against your parents.
Oh, absolutely.
And I find I have resentment, and it's like so deep sometimes. It's like I can let go of it like up here.
Yeah.
But man, sometimes there's like something inside of me. It's so locked. It's like, it's hard.
Yeah. Time does help, but not in every situation. And one day for me, with each situation that I had held on to resentment for, I just woke up one day and felt it lift. And it was just time, and I think maturity and growth, and then just realizing I just didn't want to worry about him. I didn't want to think about it anymore.
You
I wanted to
let
let it go. So I guess you call that forgiveness, but I'll never forget. And
There's no
I'll never
requirement to forget.
because I don't want to do that to my children or anyone that I come in contact with, or be that kind of friend to the people that I care about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But resentments are hard, man.
It's
and-
hard, bro. It's
Yeah,
like-
man. And we can hold on to them forever. And sometimes we can think that we've let it go, and we haven't. And they'll rear their head again. But again, I think everyone goes through that. I think it's just
You have let it go, but it hasn't let you go. You don't come through that without taking wounds that develop into scars and emotional scars. And they're talking about emotional scars. It's like if you tweak your back once really good, you can go for months and years without ever even thinking about it, because you heal up, you get up on about your life, until you turn wrong one day to pick up something stupid off the floor and it's hick, and you're laid up for 3 days. Because it's some base level beyond what you're conscious of. It's not up here. It's in the body, and our body is our body. Your body has an ingrained response to things. So when you see triggers, you hear things, you see people you haven't thought of in a long time, and those feelings come rushing back, because it comes down to that acute stress response, that fight, flight, freeze, that can trigger what they're talking about. So you hear that word, you hear that voice, you smell that smell, you hear that sound, you hear a song, whatever, and all those memories come rushing back. He could have been telling you, but it all comes rushing back. It's dangerous, but that's life. But you got to be able to identify it. If not, you end up living in a loop, a negative feedback loop, living in the past. It's really easy for Karen to have, the desk calendar and those three, the router cut words on the wall, faith, blessed, blah, blah, blah. It's really easy to say all that stuff. It's a lot harder to put into practice. Mother-in-law's name's Karen.
It's part of being human.
I'm not talking
Yeah.
about her specifically.
Yeah, it's like a sap sometimes, resentment. It's like, it's
Excellence.
sap is just
Excellence.
so
Sticky.
yeah, it's so fucking sticky, man. And you really
Thick.
Yeah, you can't clean it all. You don't even know where it
man.
all is.
No, sometimes you never get it off.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get it off, but it's just like, gosh, man,
Still
I'm
there.
still on.
Down your
Still on my
fingerprint.
Yeah.
Still there.
I know exactly what you're talking about. And I think with resentment and your sap analogy, I think we can always, if we
Like I
focus
said,
on
you let it go,
things that
but it
hurt
doesn't
us
let go of
in our
you,
life,
just like the sap.
ways that we've been betrayed, abused, mistreated, mishandled, taken advantage of, lied to, stolen from, all the things that can happen to us in life. We can find ourselves getting right back into that emotion, even though we may have a period where we think we're free from it. So it's all about,
Perspective, like you
what
said.
consumes your thoughts controls your life. So it's all about changing the way we think. And I think for me, I had to make a conscious effort to do that. I had to eliminate things in my life that reminded me of those situations and those people for a period of time. I had to cut off things that were triggers to try to rewire my brain to not go there. And every once in a while, something will flash up and I'll be like, man, ooh, there's still a little sap in there. Man. Still a little sap in there. Man, I thought I cleaned that off.
I got
so
it
maybe,
off.
maybe we go to the grave with some of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
maybe we do.
And that had to be, what did you notice within yourself that did anything like get, because I noticed when iBooks started to become popular, my ego started, I didn't notice it was my ego. I thought it was just like, I'd gotten myself this far. So I knew a lot of the best ways I felt like I knew the best ways to do things. I felt like I needed to do it all myself.
Right.
That was a big problem that I struggled with.
Yeah, me too.
Like not wanting to let other people help me, even though I needed help.
Me too. And I can own that now. I can see and look back that although a few minutes ago I said, I didn't have the support system, I did have a couple people that made a real valiant effort to communicate and get through to me. But again, like you were saying, ego. I had done everything on my own since I was 17 years old. Didn't take a dime from anybody. Had lived in my car. Had lived in an apartment with no electricity, and in the freezing cold. in Chattanooga, Tennessee in 1991.
Yeah.
You know, sitting there taking cold baths, you know, in the winter. And I was like, man.
Back when cold was cold.
Yeah, it was cold, man. Sleeping on towels. So I was like, man, I came from that.
Right.
And no one helped me. You know, I did that, so it created an ego. And I think it took an ego to go through that.
What do you mean?
I think it took a sense of self-confidence to even endure those struggles in life, you know, to be strong enough to live in your car.
Yeah, an ego is, you got to have a fucking ego to do that. It's true.
You do.
You have to have the good side of it, like the healthy part of an ego to do that.
Like, I'm going to get through this. I'm going to do this. I got this.
Right.
This is
just self-confidence.
You know what I mean?
What's so fascinating about the it's like
so there's a good side.
Yeah.
And then there's the bad side. This is duality of man.
Yeah.
And so we, you know, when the success came, man, it's hard not to get just inflated in ego.
Impossible.
I mean, you know, we were young. I was young. And the trappings of success were there every single day.
Yeah.
And, you know, I succumbed, man.
Oh, yeah. The unlimited. I mean, I remember even going backstage and seeing like one of them cheese plates or whatever for the first time. Dude, I lost my damn mind, bro. I'm about to pull my ears off my head. I was so excited. Just like things where you're like, damn, we did it, you know?
We
like,
made it.
Yeah,
man.
we made it.
We got 4 types of cheese and there's meat.
Yeah, dude. Camembert, anyone? And then like, yeah, and when things start to, it's really interesting, man, that how the ego kind of like is this, it's almost a trap kind of. It's like helping you, it's keeping you going. So you're like so motivated with it. And then it kind of like.
And then it turns on you.
Yeah. It's just crazy, bro.
And then it turns on you. And so I think, you know, it's something that, you know, thank goodness with maturity and time and being broken and shattered and having to rebuild. You know, my psyche and my mind and my body multiple times. I think it put things in more perspective. And I feel so detached from that person. It's almost like it was another life and another human being.
Death to oneself. You know, they're kind of skipping around this timeline here. I would say that he was that screwed up kid that was given all this opportunity and success. Of course he's going to screw up. You can have a great childhood and not be abused and be handed success and still screwed up. Like, but you need that screw up so you're forced to pick yourself up as a young adult, to do the painful soul searching, to do the development, to see the folly, to repent, and then take up the path of discipleship, a life of discipline to rebuild. And when you get to down the road with that, you look back and you don't recognize yourself as that person from before. Fascinating. I'm not going to do the whole video, but this is pretty cool. Very interesting. Yeah. Hope y'all enjoyed it. There's a whole lot more to this stuff. Yeah. There's a whole lot more to you. So until next time. Hopefully it won't be as long. Thanks.